Hello everyone, it's Untitled Chapter. Welcome to another Modpack overview, this time on survival pack automation. Modpack simply adds in a focus on tech as well as certain things like ores, but also a lot of other stuff like transportation, fluids, items, power, tool swapping, entity whitelisting, and more. So a few things do carry across between both, like the tool swapping and the biomes and a few other things, but not as many mobs, not the same dimensions, and more of a focus on tech or certain other things that can lead into it, like with a B dimension in this version compared to the other one having its own. So yeah, so like the screenshots, you've got pretty much a lot of different building options. You've got redstone, you've got planes, you've got TP Studio, green screens and cameras, you've got quarries, instant building of houses, as you can see there, and a few other things. So yeah, and also slippery terrains in both versions. So yeah, mobs will slide around, you'll slide around. It's great. So you've got a minimap, you've got a timer, you've got GEI, viewing things and finding out recipes and shooting them in. And otherwise in the pack we've got things like the repair station, where you just use a block, put the thing you want to repair in, use a gem, and you can repair it. You've got additional projectile weapons, such as a few guns, you've got magazines, the ability to reload easily. You've got an auto planter for saplings, a negative beacon that affects players, which is that one over there in the purple, compared to the shroud, which is for mobs, which obviously benefit players, but obviously negatively affect mobs. You've got cactus juice to help with the survival aspects, which should be the temperature and thirst system. You've got cheese and crackers for additional food, as well as a few other things. You've got ChemLib for additional resources. You've got compressed blocks for additional blocks you can compress certain vanilla resources into, as well as use for building, I guess, if you wanted, decorations. You've got also a diamond recipe as well. You've got stacks of arrows and such. You've got dim storage for a ender chest and ender tank sort of option, as well as the ability to access them remotely. You've got XP storage or bottling. You've got redstone capabilities with straights and bends and resistors and pipes and other things. You've got elements for adding in additional steel, tools and armor, as well as obviously a sort of furnace and certain things to get things going. An ender tap for certain item transports. Entity detectors for using with entities or mobs or other things. You've got F potion for adding in additional ways of using potion effects. You can select by a menu, and also upgrades, which obviously you can set with Craftweaver also. You've got experience container for storing experience. You've got extended furnace, so pretty much an additional furnace option that also can store XP and do other bits and pieces, additional upgrades. You've got factory one for an auto crafter. You've got fans for obviously pushing mobs. You've got certain other resources in the form of certain ore trees, or certain other options for building with, of course, if you want to use them for that, or changing them into ingots. You've got flopper for obviously a fluid hopper, stores 5 buckets worth, or 5,000 millibuckets. You've got fruit trees for adding in additional tree options, along with obviously if you wanted to, you could also either get resources from that, or you could have bee pollination as well, which is also another part of the automation sort of extent, besides just quarries and pumps and other bits and pieces. You've got gates for redstone possibilities, you've got bunch of different types there. You've got detectors, you've got repeaters, you've got flip-flops, and a few other things. Glass hole for adding in glass color cutters, as well as additional glowing versions of stained glass. Greater Array of Ender to find structures easier. instant redstone to instantly activate redstone, also for creative use. Inventular, something a bit different, for droppers that can either craft or other dispensers that can do things. You've got item collectors for collecting. You've got another void dimension if you need a bit more space rather than the existing dimensions. So you can make your own platforms in an empty space. You've got lightest lamps for lighting up areas up to 30 blocks wide. So if you don't want to just have to have tons of torches everywhere, you've got pretty much double the actual lighting capabilities. You've got filters and other things for that as well, to make the resources for them. You've got magical generators for additional power generation sources. You've got mob grinder for a centralized block for grinding mobs. You don't want to use a typical mob farm. You've got moving elevators for elevator systems for building. You've got an unbreakable tools enchantment. You've got other stuff for certain resources. Where is it? So you can make other resources easily with a bunch of other stuff, probably useful for Skyblock. You've got Omega Craft for adding in additional machines, upgrades, certain tiers of things, item, fluid, power, transport, certain other upgrade systems and things. You've got sugarcane ores or other bits and pieces from mobs. You've got other stone pickaxe for adding in additional tools with other resources as well as other foods. You've got pretty pipes for sending in things, items with different filters. Rainbow stone for using redstone with different colors, so different redstone wiring. Rotten flesh to leather. You've got Sakura Forest for additional biome and tree and building options. Mobs and such. You've got Seeker Compass for seeking mobs of a particular type and tracking them and using other bits and pieces with enchantments for them. A magnet mod for obviously magnetizing things or vacuuming them in. You've got additional mobs like the ostrich and the spanner. You've got additional planes you can build and fly and have multiple passages in. You've got instant houses like that one there, which you just place the following block in after making it. You've got storage options with storage overhaul, and 3 different tiers of those, along with different woods and minecarts and such. You've got survive, which obviously is having me take damage with hyperthermia, so that's another thing to keep in mind, besides the slippery surfaces. You've got sword displays for displaying your swords. You've got to chemistry for additional certain machines and resources and such. The bumble zone for an additional sort of aspect to bees, but with a dimension. You've got torturism for torches, but different to lattice lamps. You've got the storage mod, which is obviously the ability to connect up to certain chests, as well as obviously access it with certain monitors. You've got TV studio for an additional aspect of building. You've got useful tools for helping with farms and such. You've got vanilla crafts and expansion, which adds in gates and ore, tools, food, other bits and pieces. You've got vanilla hammers for pretty much breaking through certain stone and ores easy. I think the excavator one's also here as well for shoveling 3x3. You've got WTBW machines for a quarry, you've got upgrades, you've got materials, upgrades for the machines, powered furnace, crusher and more. Waterworks for a pump. You've got U-matter for pretty much U-matter, but in obviously a slightly different way. And you've got Zycraft with its building options, and it doesn't have the full potential of the mod yet, but it will get it eventually. Compressed blocks also is the final one with tools and certain other compressed versions of things that can also be used for decoration. And obviously I don't want to take too much damage, so I'll just do that. Otherwise, the only other things really to cover is the smaller stuff, like the armor status stuff, auto fishing, swapping of tools, counting chests that you've already visited, the chunk loader, and a few other things like backup severe death, whitelisting of entities if you want to prevent any from spawning a particular type, seeing through lava, leaf decay, and a bunch of other things as well, like crawling with a keybind and more. Thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.